Holla holla, your boy George Billionaire. Every single Monday, you know what time it is. Hustle hard. You gotta keep hustling hard. In this life that we live, there's one thing that's definitely going to require you to hustle, and that's life. Life is gonna happen to you. You're gonna have to be willing to work hard to provide for your family, for so many needs that you have in your household, and so much more. So today, I learned a lot of things in life, and we're going to be talking about a very important thing which actually has a ripple effect in where you end up. I know everybody says your association is of paramount importance. Your association determines your destination. But today on Hustle Hard, I'm going to be touching on two types of things, two types of people. People to keep and people to avoid in order for you to be great. Now, all great people have done specific things in order for them to be great. And one of them deliberately was associating with the right people. And most importantly, disassociating with the wrong people.
The Hustle Hard is our segment every Monday where we talk about, the hustle, making the money, making it make sense, and, just getting into the things that matter. And hopefully by the time we are done with the segments, you are not giving up on yourself, you're not giving up on your dreams. If it feels like it's not working, go back to the drawing board, figure it out, try again, new strategies, but you never give up on the goal. The methods can be different, but the goal must always be there. Because can you imagine God gave you that dream and then you give up on it because you failed once or twice and you're like, no, Anchada. So George comes through every Monday to help us navigate this whole hustling thing and how to make our businesses grow and live a fulfilling, purposeful life. Because what we do on Hustle Hard, we provoke, inspire, and equip. Yes.
Preaching good.
These
are the type of people. These are the type of people we're going to talk about that deliberately.
I told you
today.
I'm one of those three people.
Yeah.
Yes.
And right. So holla, big shout out to all the pulsers and everybody tuning in. Becky,
Sure.
I cannot continue not to acknowledge the amount of people who, wherever I go, they are coming up. I'm getting some inboxes, and people are actually doing some tangible things out there from the information they're getting on the show. So, big shout out to all those people who are just not hearers. I love what the Word of God says. When Jesus left, he said, do business until I come. Occupy until I come.
Yeah.
Which means as long as we still have oxygen in our lungs, there's still a lot of things to be accomplished out there. And there's so much potential in people. The word potential is used wrongly because all of us have potential.
Okay.
But then what we need to do is to act upon certain things. I can tell you in Hebrews 11, it says faith is the substance of things hoped for. And it also goes on to say, without faith, it is impossible to please God. So without actually trying and doing something, you will never actually do or become somebody who's great because you stayed comfortable in a place. So it's important that people out there, I love the feedback always. And I'm going to encourage people out there, you know what, when you start your journey, I think I've given my number out before. I'm on social media, inbox me for some of those people who want to get a little more help. Come and join our GB mentorship program. And I can definitely assist to help you go on the journey that you're supposed to go on. And which I keep talking about to people that we see what's going on. I've got a friend in Kenya and one in Rwanda. They were telling me about how in their country, there's a lot of reshuffling and people being retrenched and a lot of people losing their jobs. And it just goes on to show you that if people in Rwanda and Kenya actually tune on to the show and are actually going through this thing that we only think is happening in Zimbabwe, it should be a rude awakening to people out there. Because this thing called your job alone is not safe alone. Because if you see how quickly, I always say this, that our devices are updating software so regularly, but you've been on that one job for many years, doing the same thing over and over again. But if you see AI, this weekend I saw a robot talking. Last week I saw a car self-driving. Last time I saw a restaurant operating with no human beings inside. Last time we saw a lot of people haven't been to the banks. If you go to a restaurant, you order your food on a tablet and it's delivered. So imagine wherever you are, whatever sector you are in,
Yeah.
trust you me, there's mechanization now in farms. There are drones, there's so much. Back in the day, I remember when the news was chasing, robbers or something, there was a helicopter that was launched into the air. But now we have drones. Now we have drones farming. Now we've got drones spraying pesticides where that used to be somebody's job.
Yep.
So there's a lot happening in terms of forward integration and technology taking over certain areas and fields. So
And with all of that happening, you still have to find your place in it.
you have to, because failure to do so, I can tell you that very soon, when that call comes, when that letter comes, and you are told, thank you, Becky, for your services, we appreciate you, we've got now somebody else who's there. You don't want to be stuck trying to think, what can I do? When you've got Gustav, Becky K, and yours truly, George, Billy here on Hustle Hard, telling you that, you know what? There's certain things you can begin to do now. Now is the key word. Certain things you can actually start now. As little as it looks, as small as it may seem, if you put that little on a little, soon it will become much. So when that day ultimately comes, or when your age reaches a stage where you now need to retire and you now get a package, at least you will have something to occupy you, something that will be bringing income and sustaining your current lifestyle.
I like that. With what you have said, for us to get to that point, there's people that we're going to surround ourselves with. There's people that we're going to expose ourselves with. What I've known and learned about people, myself included, is that you will meet people either for a season, for a purpose, or for a lifetime. And sometimes it's a bit difficult to know who is who and where to place those people. So there's some people that you think, for life. Whether it's got to do with your career or your business or or your social life, all the different circles that you function in. There's some people that you end up placing wrong based on how they would have treated you. And then there's some people that with the age, this one have really got it right, and you're like so thankful to God that you've got these people in your life. So looking at people to stay away from and people to keep, what are we looking at first? Am I looking at the people that I need in my life or the people to stay away from?
I think it's important that today you need to do some self-retrospect, because in this life you will only become the sum total of the people you associate with. And we've heard this quote so many times: your association determines your destination. You only become the sum total result, net worth wise, of the people you keep hanging around. And this is something that we need to really take serious consideration about the type of company that we have. Now, I can tell you where you're going to end up is directly affected by the amount of people who are pushing you to where you want to go, or pulling you back to where you could potentially be. And today we're going to be looking at the 3 people you need to stay away from.
Stay away from.
Stay away from, and then there are people that you need to keep in your life.
Okay.
Now, a lot of people probably have heard about this. There are leaves, there are branches, there are roots. Leaves are people who are there for a season, like you said. Branches are people who will be there dependent on your success or not. And then the roots are the people who are with you through thick and thin. They're the ones that hold you up and support you. So those are basically the type of 3 people that are in your life.
Okay.
But today I want to focus on the 3 types of people you need to stay away from. And number 1 person you need to stay away from are those people who blow out the fire in you. Now they are what are called naysayers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Naysayers are people, whenever you come up with an idea, hey, I want to start a business. Hey, I want to go the journey less traveled. Hey, I wanna do something. Then you have those people who are telling you, it's just $100. You know what? Let's just blow this, and it will come back another time. Or what you mean you want to start this? Let's go out and spend our money, and So there are people who always belittle you and speak lowly of you. And I talk about my journey with Pro Air. There are many people, I've said it before, very close family members, some friends, who wanted to belittle me. And had I listened to these people, I can tell you I wouldn't be the person that I am today.
Right.
So they are naysayers. And these people, I can guarantee you, you know them. If you think about somebody who you told your idea, who told you or put you off, those are naysayers. You don't want those type of people in your life.
All right,
because those
hold
people
you there.
will not help you to get where you're supposed to go.
All right, so while we are at that point, before I get to know that this person is a naysayer, I share my idea, I share my dream, and they start asking questions, because you have to check all the risk factors, you have to check the pros and cons of anything before you start it. And then you are going to start, whether you know how bad it's going to turn out or how good it's going to turn out, you are going to feel that determination to at least try. How do I know that Uyumunu is now becoming a naysayer and not just a friend who's looking out with Shamar idea? I don't want you to crash and burn, so let's cross the T's and dot the I's. But business here, everyone is doing that. Why don't you think of doing this by Yachona? Focus on shoes or focus on statement pieces.
Okay.
Yeah. How do I know at that point, Kuti, when the person crosses this certain type of line, are naysayer is no longer helping me?
So,
out?
Becky, the question that a lot of people ask, Kuti, everybody is doing it. Tell me one business where there's nobody who's doing it.
Yeah, everybody's doing something.
Okay, so there's everybody who's doing something. So if I have a friend who tells me everybody is doing it, look, there's so many retail shops, there's so many supermarkets, there's so many air conditioning shops. It also shows me the level of somebody's perception.
Okay.
Because I could start a retail shop today, or a shop that's selling clothes, or an air conditioning company today, but by the way I do specific things, that will blossom and flourish. So to me, I love what it says in Proverbs 13 verse 20. It says, when you hang around with wise people, you too will become wise. And this is something that you need to also really analyze with the types of advice you're getting from people. Is it wisdom? Where are these people standing from for them to be saying that? I've always said, don't go and ask somebody who's never been in business, should I start a business? Because what you are basically doing, you're asking somebody who has no intel, who has never started a business, to give you advice on something that they've never done. So basically, naysayers are most of the time people who've actually never done what you want to do, and they're judging you according to their own inability not to be able to do that thing. So they're not judging you on your potential. And I keep saying this, when I started this journey with Pro-Am, many people said, it's not going to work. You don't even have the education. You're too young. You don't have funding. You don't. But I deliberately, simply disassociated with those people. And I went to people who threw in wood to the flame that I had. To tell me, George, you know what? There may be so many others, but I love the drive you have. I love the zeal you have. And you know what? That's what ultimately then ended me to being the person that I am today. So naysayers are people you deliberately need to disassociate from.
Okay,
and
so
you can tell.
naysayers will, from the bat, quench that fire. They won't encourage you to do it.
They drain you. They are not
drain.
focused. They are people who, they're not driven. They don't have something that they are pursuing themselves. And they want you to remain together. You know, they are those, we always say it, the chickens and the eagles. They want you, Becky, to be in hand reach of them. And then they want all of us to be the same. And that's the challenge with naysayers. They like crowned type of solutions.
Yeah.
But when you want to become great, you want to disassociate and become an ego, they'll try and keep you where you are. So number one is naysayers. Number two are the people who are constantly procrastinating. Now, I know so many people. Now, if
I'll do it tomorrow.
I'll do it tomorrow. Those people are full of excuses. We call them here on Hustle Hard. They suffer from a disease called excusatitis. And they're always coming up with something to say. And in Proverbs 22:13, there's that guy who manufactured an excuse about not going out because there's a lion outside and I may be killed.
I'm not even sure if there's.
So imagine there's people who will give you all the excuses. I can't start now because the economy, the government, I don't have capital, I don't have this, I don't have that. They're so full of excuses, and they're not those people who will actually walk towards something and try. And remember here, I've always said that the people who try, the people who act, the people who are actually trying to do something that other people are not doing are the people who get the results that others do not get. So procrastinators, and you know them, there are certain people who they've wanted to go and further their education for the past 5 years. They've been writing that book for the past 10 years.
Yeah.
They've been wanting to finish building that house for the past 15 years. Ichingoripa window level.
Aiwa.
They still have not progressed. And those are people to stay away from, because there's something about people's vibes that rubs onto you.
Wait a
You'll
minute,
also
George.
become the same type of person.
For real?
Because you're hanging around with, Becky, how many times have you hung around with somebody and then you start talking like them? You start
All the
acting like
time.
them.
All the time.
So it's the same thing. When you're so positive, remember what we said about the ego and the chicken?
Yeah.
The ego hung around the chickens for so long, he forgot he had the ability to fly off the ground. That association, that full of procrastination and excuses, hinders you. And it affects you indirectly. You'll find yourself now putting things off for tomorrow that you're supposed to do today.
Because the person I'm hanging around
they are
with
in your
always
circle
puts
of
things off.
influence. They are your associates. And indirectly you'll see it. I remember I wanted to go to the gym with a friend of mine, and every single time would meet at 5 a.m. and whoever was late would have to pay a certain amount of money to the other.
All right.
What that did, it instilled that I'm not going to have excuses. I'm going to have to wake up at 4:30 and be whoever is late into the gym after 5 o'clock pays. What that instilled in me is that, wait a minute, if it was me alone coming, I would just rock up to the gym at any time. So that person specifically instilled,
Some form of discipline.
get rid of excuses.
Yeah.
You got to work early in the morning to get 2 hours ahead of everybody else. Others are waking up by the time you've already worked out in the gym and you've got things going. So do not hang around with people who are procrastinating and constantly making so many excuses.
How about if this person is just going through life, George? You know, like life will throw things at you and it punches you alone. You get up, it punches you again. Do I stay away from that person because I don't to fight through whatever life is throwing at them, or am I just focusing on procrastinating?
That's an excuse.
That's an excuse.
That's a very well elaborated English excuse that you've made. Because in this life, thanks, Costa.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Yeah. Because in this life, remember, where you will end up and where you want to be is what you're willing to do that others are not willing to do.
Yep.
And if yours is an excuse, yours is, I'm going through life, I'm going through so much. I think some of the lowest times in my life as an entrepreneur, I did not speak and make and blame and do all these things. I deliberately just went to hang around with others who've probably been through what I went through, and they told me how they overcame it. Because, I love the verse that says, do not be anxious about anything, right? Don't worry, because worrying is an excuse. I don't know what tomorrow is going to be like. But if you hang around with people who have overcome those things that you're currently going through, they'll tell you, no, I remember there's a downtime I went through. I had to liquidate, I had to downsize,
right.
I had to then, reflect and have 2 workers left instead of the 10. And then I had to pull myself back up. But then when you always don't think it's the right time, and you're,
okay, got you.
It won't make any logical sense. So procrastinators are there. People who are full of excuses are there, and those people will never have anything. You'll never see those people achieve anything in life because all they have are excuses.
Yeah. And then third person?
People who undermine you and are jealous. Now this one is deep. There are people who, Becky, you can consider them to be your friends, but paneka will jealousy in these people.
That's exactly what Shingi Fundira says. She's tuned in online, and a lot of people would discourage you for a number of reasons, one of them being jealousy traits.
True that. And jealousy, I remember, Becky, imagine when I started imagine when you start your hustle and you've got your so-called friends then wenda kumba kushamwari yako
Should be
naisa
happy for you.
aisa aircon
But I see how.
aisi yako and there I told you, no, don't do this. And you're like, but wangu, I do air
I do
conditioning.
this. I do this. I get you. I
And-
get you.
So there are people who are really jealous of you, and there are people who can see your potential. There are people who can say, "Eish, uyaka and we're gonna be left alone." And you need to be able to discern people who are really there for you and people who are not. When you're going through good times, when you win an award, when you've been there, are those people who will call you, Becky, I'm proud of you, well done. They'll
Right.
clap hands for you.
Right.
Then there are people who will not. That should tell you something. For me, the easiest way to tell if somebody is really there for you, look at your good times. Are they there? Do they clap hands for you? Do they acknowledge you? Do they refer people to you? Do they mention your name when you are not there? Those people are genuinely your people. Hi, George, I need an aircon. I got your number from Becky. Those are people genuinely happy for you and what you're doing.
So if you offer a service and you don't have any of your friends supporting you, check those people.
Basically, you should really look at that, because your true people who are your friends
Did you hear that?
should be
Check your
people who,
people.
when they come to buy your product, they're not asking for a discount, because they would also want the same. They're not saying, I want to see George directly. No, they're not. There are people who are saying, you know what, we're going to support, because you know what, we know where Becky came from, we know where George came from, and we want to make sure that we are the ones who will actually pay on top to make sure that this business goes on. So whenever you're going through low times, these are the people who are now wanting to see, these jealous people. The jealous people are always there in your low times, because they want to understand what you're going through. They seem too concerned. And if this is something that's coming to your mind and you've got some names, you really need to be deliberate.
No, I got like 20 names
you
that just
need
went
to
through
be
my mind
deliberate
right now.
in who you give information to, because when you're going through tough times, those people will seem so concerned. They will seem like they're there, but they're not there for you in the real times where you really need them and your support.
Okay, we got 5 minutes before we close it down on Hustle Hard. I've got plenty questions and contributions rather coming through on Instagram, but there's a question that came through our WhatsApp platform. And George saka watima robots achatitorera basa tozoita sei manje tatorerwa mabasa nemarobot tibatsire ipapo.
Yeah, that is so true. If you look at how the world is changing, yes, we're in Zimbabwe, we're a third world country, but as you can see, there's a lot of devices. The device that you're watching on today was invented by somebody in the first world. There are people who are creating accounting softwares, marketing softwares. We all use all these different applications to check our health. You're going to see very soon a lot of things are going to really just be able to get access from the internet just by clicking on, I'm not feeling well today, this, that. And there's a lot of things in all sectors that are going to change. So believe it or not, remember I said it in 2020 last time, and so many things have happened now in 2024, and you'll see a year, 2 years down the line, very soon they're going to be cars with no people driving them.
Yeah.
So think about that, all these people driving cars thinking that it's an occupation. You really need to look at the thing you're thinking is an
what
asset,
else? Yeah.
because
And
truly
chocolate
AI and robots are coming. So be prepared to make sure that you have something that you
Shocking.
do. Yeah.
Shocking. And the discernment is needed, and the discernment is crucial 100% when it comes to looking at the people in your circle. And as a generation, we have some pruning to do. Handpick and drop dead wood. So many Judases waiting for the right moment to bring you down.
That's right. And then we are in a generation like that, and people need to, this is why, one thing I've seen with the people that have mentored me.
Right.
So I'm a sum total result of all these people who've mentored me.
True.
And I come here on radio to give insight, not from my own mind, but from the wisdom I've gained from so many people. And successful people have a very small circle of what they call friends. But to you who is listening today, you consider yourself to have 40, 50 friends, and you think they are all your dear-hearted, loving, supportive friends. But then trust you me, as you begin to grow in life, you find your circle gets smaller, and it's
important.
Not everybody is happy for you. Not everybody. So you gotta keep some of the dear things that are happening in your life to yourself.
Yeah.
Because you just might be feeding, like what was asked, a Judas, who will then, leak some information and destroy whatever you're trying to build and mess you up.
There's a question here from 3642. Hi Becky, hi George, Billionaire. You forgot to Google. Okay, I'll just credit you Google, okay? Hi Google. My son is 20, waiting to go to university next year. He got a job as a security guard. He had no maths at O level. He wrote in June and he passed it. And he has, from end of August, he started driving. He started doing driving lessons, and he's now a licensed driver. And he's saving money to buy a laptop by end of the year. Thanks again. This is my turn. But because he's been listening, they've been tuning in. They're like, okay, fine, listen, dude. You didn't get what you wanted, but doesn't mean that's the end of the world. You're going to do this and stuff. So now he's equipped himself with something. If he goes and he looks for something out there, he's eligible to get something because he can drive.
Yeah, and this is what we keep saying. The information we're getting every single Monday on Hustle Hard is that you need to take action. You need to at least try to do something. You need to stop making excuses of blaming everybody else, but at least just try. That's the simple thing. At least just try to do something, because you'll see, and it's something that we repeatedly keep saying. Action is the key to success. But those who do not do anything will never ever amount to anything, because they are doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
So what's our action plan for this whole week? What are we doing? Now we know the people to stay away from. At least now we'll be looking for the opposite of what you just told us, like the pros of the people in our circle. And do we just let them go like that? Do we just cut them off?
To the naysayers,
to
the people who are not willing to support you, quickly disassociate. To the procrastinators, don't hang around with people who are going to limit you to becoming what you're supposed to be. And to these other people, the people who undermine you and those who, discernment is key. And you yourself know the people who are for you. And it's a decision that you need to make, because if you carry a lot of luggage on your way of life, which is not productive, it will hinder you from becoming what you're supposed to be.
Absolutely. That's George, Billionaire on Hustle Hard. Joy says successful people have a tight inner circle. Very crucial. Why is it important to have that, like, inner circle kind of tight?
I like referring to Jesus, who he had 12 disciples, then he had his inner three. It's important because those three are the ones you spend a lot of time with. Those are the ones who you confide, your confidence, the ones that give you that boost of energy that you really need. Because having too many people, trust you me, is not a good thing. As you go up, you won't understand it now because of where you're at.
So do I start now to cut people?
It's important because I always talk about reciprocal energy. Right? Do your friends reciprocate the energy that is there? Right? If there's no reciprocated energy, trust you me, you don't want to be hanging. You can't be the only one. And I've said this, if you see you're the only one calling your friend and there's no return call, it means it's a one-way relationship. If you see you're in a relationship and you're putting in too much effort, it means you're relationshiping yourself, because it's not two-way. So you have to really have a small circle of people you call your people, because if you don't see that, trust you me, you're lying to yourself, thinking that you got people who support you, and yet you don't. Because when a tough time happens, that's where true character and friends are revealed.
And there's a huge difference between friends and acquaintances. Very important to separate the two. So in your circle, there's people that will see you take pictures with, and this event and all of that. We shouldn't take those as your friends all the time when we see pictures.
I've got plenty. It's just like you, Becky. You've got how many followers on your page? 150,000. You can't say they're all your friends. I mean, some of them may comment the most amazing things, but they are not your friends. They are people who follow you, who like your vibe. But it doesn't mean if somebody comes for a selfie with you, automatically they're friends. They're not. So friends are people who...
And the George into 1 million.
There we go again. There we go again.
Thank you for joining Exhibit Sadaruban.
Yeah.
And Bata Mabas. And the reciprocal energy. I like that. Thank you. I learned about this recently and I had to disassociate. So it's never too late to learn that trait of cutting people
If you're
off.
going to be successful,
Yeah.
Becky, trust you me, you're gonna need to prune your branches for you to grow taller. We all know this. If you want something to grow tall up and become established,
Yeah.
cut the branches. It's simple. But if you keep having so many, you're going to remain stunted and you're going to have too much baggage. You cannot run fast with so much baggage. So all these people that I know, I look at some of my role models. They don't have a lot. They've got a lot of people they can rely on.
Right.
But when it comes to friends, remember what we said last time, Becky? How many people can you call and say I need $1,000 and you'll find them here today? Not a lot.
Not a lot.
Yeah, but those are the type of people who I can call on this person. And it doesn't mean that you talk a lot of times, but your relationship with that person is deep because they want the best for you. You don't even need to explain what you need it for because they know you're good for that amount. They know, there's something that probably is happening in your life that you need to get out of. So it's important that we really do that self-retrospect. If you're in trouble, who shows up? Who comes to your help?
Yeah.
Who helps you in real times of need?
But then also there's those things that you look for someone, like how often do you check on that person before you ask for the help? Doesn't that also count?
I think for me, one of the things I've done with people who are close to me, I do keep, and our conversations are not one way. Remember what I said? If you're the only one who is calling somebody, there's something wrong. I've got mentors of mine when they travel, they say, hey George, I saw this, I just thought of you. This is a small gift for you. And it's reciprocated. When I also travel, it's the same. I may not see them for a month. Hi, I just thought it's been a while. I'll check up on you. That's a real relationship. Not somebody who calls you only when they want something. There are certain people, when you see the phone ringing,
you know exactly what you're
immediately you know, wait a minute. This person wants something from me. And with that's not a relationship. That's not a friendship. You only know if you were to call the same person. You may help. And Becky, you have a good heart. If people ask you for anything, you would give that person $1 million. I know you. But try and ask that person for $1 million and see, is it reciprocated? And the answer definitely is a capital N-O.
So there must always be something in it for me.
Anything that's called friendship is reciprocated.
Okay, got it.
It's got to be reciprocated. Without any reciprocation, I don't get it. You're only friends with somebody because you have similar traits, likes, things that you like to do together, and that's that.
Well, thanks for the great nuggets, my guy. People really enjoyed this session. And I'm not gonna read this one. She's trying to call me out. Now, ladies, stop it! Stop it! Don't do that. She says, "How about the friend who only calls you on your birthday?"
Yeah.
We share your birthday, so I will never forget her birthday.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning into the live. We do this every Monday with George on Capital 100.4 FM. Masterclass. Any information?
Yeah, masterclass is on the 2nd of November.
Oh, nice.
So just go to my social media page, George Billionaire, on Facebook, on Instagram, and see the flyer. It's out, and then people can come register for that and be a part of some amazing entrepreneurs. Our next masterclass is going to have 2 guests, some amazing, I'm not going to mention their names, but some amazing seasoned entrepreneurs.
What time does the masterclass start?
It starts 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. on the 2nd of November.
Oh, beautiful.
So early morning, get it out of the way, but most importantly, be around other eagles who are wanting to fly high and become what God purposed them to be.
Great stuff.